I guess you could throw everything I said yesterday just right out the window. I said all signs are pointing to the Steelers resigning Justin Fields and Russell Wilson. The team was going to move on from him. Then you have today Russell Wilson going on Pat McAfee's show and saying that him and the Steelers are in some contract talks currently. Or at least they've started to talk a little bit. So what do you believe? And we'll go through it all. We'll definitely go through it all because not only did Russ go on McAfee, he went on Twitter after, retweeted some of the McAfee stuff, definitely showing and showcasing that he wants to be back with the Pittsburgh Steelers. Like I thought, I was honestly going to come on today's show and double down even further that Justin Fields was going to be the Steelers quarterback for 2025 because the Jets hired Aaron Glenn. Arthur Smith was up for 2 head coaching jobs. The Chicago Bears, New York Jets. Both those teams found their guy, and it wasn't Arthur Smith. So that makes me believe that Arthur Smith is going to be back with the Steelers as their offensive coordinator. And who does he prefer at quarterback between Fields and Wilson? It's Fields. I think that's pretty clear, right? Add that to the reports that I was talking about yesterday from Dulac. He speculated, he guessed that Russell Wilson was not going to be back for the upcoming season and that the Steelers like Justin Fields a lot compared to all the other free agent quarterbacks that would be out there on the market, whether it was Rodgers, whether it was Daniel Jones, Sam Darnold, you name it. Steelers already like what they got in-house in Fields. But Russ being on the Pat McAfee show today threw a wrinkle in all this. So here's the official report. Or not even a report. This is directly from Russell Wilson's mouth. Here's the quotes. We've been starting to talk a little bit. We had meetings and everything else, and we're getting into it. It's an exciting time. So he followed up these quotes and being on the McAfee show, talking about his time with the Steelers, by doing some quote tweets. You can read the McAfee tweet, and this is what was said by Russ on the show. Pittsburgh was a special place for me, and I love it there. Mike Tomlin motivates us, and being around him was a gift. There's so much leadership in that locker room, and that's what makes it special. Full of gratitude. Also had more quotes from the show that were tweeted out by the McAfee Show Twitter account. He says, when you've got playmakers around you, it always makes it fun. Pickens is such a freak athlete out there, and Freiermuth had a great year. Calvin Austin was such a star this season, and he has great work ethic. He quote tweets that by saying, love my teammates, best days are ahead. So not only did he go on McAfee, say his piece about wanting to be back with the Steelers and how he loved his teammates and how great of a time that he had, but then he also does the follow-up, you know? Does the follow-up. Whenever you're looking for that new job, you know, you got everything lined up, you got the resume, you do the interview, and then you do that follow-up text, you do that follow-up email, and I think that's what Russell Wilson is doing here with these quote tweets. Goes on McAfee, states his case, lets it be known that he loves it here in Pittsburgh, loves the Steelers, but also wants to let you know a little bit extra with these quote tweets. So, man, I don't know what to believe. I don't know what to believe. We have the Dulac reports. Obviously, he's plugged in with the team. He's got some insider knowledge. But then you got Russ saying we are in contract talks. Could this just be Russ trying to build up his own brand, build up his own value in all this? Just letting the Steelers know, like, hey, don't forget about me, man. Don't forget, like, I want this to work. Don't you remember some of the stuff that we talked about last offseason and what we wanted to accomplish? It didn't finish the way we want, but, you know, come on, I'm still Russell Wilson. Tomlin, remember us talking about how we wanted to get back to Super Bowls, doing great things together? Wanted to get this franchise back to the standard that it was built on? Because we know Omar in this front office likes to keep their cards close to the vest. Like, it's one thing for us to say, like, we're in contract talks, we're going back and forth, and then him to quote tweet out positive Steelers stuff and tweet out a bunch of positive Steelers stuff. Like, that's one thing. Like, how do the Steelers really feel about all that, though? Sure, they could be talking to Russ. I think that, honestly, that's a smart thing to do, right? You want to keep your options open when you're talking about negotiations and talking about trying to get the best deal possible you can for whatever quarterback is going to be here for 2025. So I think it says something, but it doesn't say everything. I will admit, like, it does have that feeling that Russ will be back in 2025 as our starting quarterback. And I'm not too happy about that. I'm not. What did I say a couple shows ago? What is the thing? What is the approach that our enemies, our division rivals, want us to take? They want us to run it back exactly the same as we were doing it last year. Russ at quarterback, conservative offense, because they know they could beat that. They know that's not a real threat. Maybe it's enough to win some division games. Maybe it's enough to go 9-8, 10-7, make it to the playoffs. But in terms of winning when it really matters, in terms of beating out the top AFC contenders, these top AFC quarterbacks, we've hit our ceiling. I think this year was like, okay, we've done everything. We've done all these different changes. We go from Kenny to Mitch Mason, and we go to Russ Fields. We switch the offensive coordinators, add all these pieces on defense. We still go 10-7. Okay, let's maybe pivot. Let's try something else. Obviously, we don't move off of Tomlin, but what are the changes that we can make within Tomlin running this team? And I've said my piece on it. We got to see what Justin Fields got. We need more pop in this offense. We need more juice. We can't go back to Russ because I just don't see it anymore. I don't see him being that elite quarterback that could beat out Burrow, that could beat out Mahomes, that could beat out Josh Allen with how this season ended. I don't. Offense didn't put up more than 17 points in the last 5 games that mattered the most. When our schedule got the toughest down the stretch, when we needed to get some of those wins to lock up the division, get some home field advantage, and then ultimately in the playoffs when it was do or die, the Russ magic didn't happen. The Seattle Russ didn't happen. It did when he first started for us, but as the season went on, defenses got used to it. Defenses got used to the offense with Russell Wilson at quarterback. And it just got more and more limited, and it just got more and more Canada-esque. So why would we be going back to that, given Russ's age at 36, and it's not like he's going to be any more mobile or any more dynamic as time goes on? He went 6-6 as the starter. 6-6. From what I remember, in the games that Kenny Pickett started and finished last year, we went 7-2. And we ran him out of town. So, like, why are we going out of our way to be committing to Russ, like, multi-year deal, like some type of multi-year deal that's, some significant money? Like, why would we do that? Especially since we also got a Justin Fields that we're familiar with here too. That went 4-2. Russ went 6-6. Fields 4-2. I get it's a team game and everything, but if you look at the stats, quarterback for quarterback, Russ's whole body of work with how the season ended versus what Fields did in those 6 games, like, take your pick. I'll take Fields, but, like, it's not too much difference no matter what way you want to slice it. So why not go with the guy that's 25 with all the talent in the world and a ton of upside still? A lot of untapped potential with Justin Fields. Why not do that? So I'm not liking some of this stuff I'm hearing from Russ on the Pat McAfee show about him being in contract negotiations with the Steelers. Again, it could just be the Steelers being smart. I don't blame them for that. Seeing what potentially you could get Russ for if he wanted to come back. And obviously he does want to come back, but what could that number be? Because I'm not going to front if the number's like $5 million and Russ just absolutely wants to get that number as low as possible so he can undercut Justin Fields. He wants to make sure the Steelers can't say no to the number that Russ is coming up with. And maybe you know what? No, you can't talk me into it. You can't, because there is that saying, there is that cliche that time's more valuable than money, right? Time is the scarcest resource out there. Money, they keep printing money. There's a ton of money. The salary cap keeps going up. These contracts just keep getting crazier and crazier, right? There's gonna be more money to be had as the years go on. When you're talking about these organizations and being able to pay players and make things work, you can do restructures. Time, though, more valuable asset. And if you're bringing back Russ, even on the vet minimum contract again, you're wasting a season of seeing what else could be the answer at quarterback. And that answer right now is right in front of us in Justin Fields. That potential answer, at least. 25-year-old going on 26, former top 11 pick, just went 4-2 with your team in 6 games past season. Like, come on, bro. Like, why? Why? Like, let's stop wasting time. Stop wasting time, because that's what I think we would be doing if we go with Russ. Russ is in that limited quarterback category. I've been saying this. He's in that Kirk Cousins, that Tua category. Good enough to win you games, good enough to keep you relevant, but I don't think he's going to be able to get you over the top anymore. I just don't see it. So don't waste time. I've been on that energy when talking about Kirk, when talking about Tua, when talking Dak Prescott, when talking about some of these mid-tier quarterbacks. It's like, bro, those teams need to move on. So why would I switch up that energy whenever I'm talking about my team and talking about the Steelers? That's how I feel. That's how I feel. We need to find the answer at quarterback. We need to find who could be an elite playmaker and an elite quarterback for us, not only for next year but going forward. And there's a maybe. There's a chance that Justin Fields could do that. So that's worth the time. That's worth investing the time and seeing what Fields can do. Whereas with Russ, if you're giving him a quarterback spot, I feel like you're just wasting time. So even if Russ wanted to come back on the vet min, I wouldn't even do it. I'm just saying, though, I could see him potentially trying to undercut Fields. He's got like $300 million in the bank from his NFL career. He doesn't need the money like that. I'm not trying to pocket watch or anything, but he's got some stacks from his playing days in Seattle, Denver, the massive contract. I can't even say from us. He got $1 million from us. I mean, I'll take $1 million, but Russ compared to that $1 million compared to some of Russ's other contracts, he ain't sweating that. So yeah, bro, like, we'll see. We'll see. It seems like the pendulum has swung, though, back to there's a chance Russ is back after hearing what he said on McAfee. It could just be Russ, again, trying to build up his value, build up his brand, build up the goodwill, saying, we're in contract negotiations, trying to help out his leverage. He's throwing out the tweets and everything. But I mean, Con don't play like that. Con's just, he's cold-blooded. He's strictly business. That's not going to faze him. Not at all. Deal's got to be right for him. The fit has got to be right for him and the organization too. Because that's, again, money aside, you have to consider the timetable of both of these quarterbacks' careers, where Russ is, where Justin Fields is, and where you want to be as an organization at the end of next year and going forward. Does Russ get you that quarterback answer? I don't think so. Or I'm just going to say no. That's my take. Does Fields get you that answer? Maybe. One way or another, you'll find out. And then you could pivot or you could re-sign Fields. But if it is about the money, look at these projected contracts. And this is why I'm saying, like, none of it adds up to me. None of it. If Russ wants market value, if Russ wants, a decent contract, look at what PFF's projecting him to get. 2 years, $35 million a year. 2 years, $70 million total. Versus Justin Fields, his projected contracts, 1 year, $11 million. So, I mean, none of it makes sense. Like, it doesn't make sense to me without the money. Like, if you're bringing back Russ on the vet minimum contract and he completely undercuts what Justin Fields is wanting to get, that doesn't make sense. But when you add the potential money and the market value that both these guys are projected at, it makes even less sense because you be getting Justin Fields for less money on top of everything I was just talking about. I don't know how accurate these projections are going to be, though. Let me know what you guys think in the chat. What do you guys think in the comments? You think that I think that's accurate for Fields. 1 year between 10, 15 million. I think that's what he's going to get. Russ, 35 million per year. I don't think the league views him that highly. If he's out on the open market, what team's paying him 35 per year? I don't know. I could see a team paying him like 20, 25, but 35. That's insane. I think that's insane. With how the season finished, 70 million total, 2 years. Okay, you know what? I'm reading the bottom. It's saying 40 million in guarantees. So that's a little bit like monopoly money. That's the real number then, 40 guaranteed. But he still would yeah, you could maneuver the cap hits and stuff like that. So maybe that's not that egregious, the 40 million guaranteed. But still, even with that being said, it's more worthwhile in seeing what you got in Justin Fields as opposed to just running it back with what you saw last year. What do you guys think? Uno Creation says, no, it's 35 for both years. No. Look, because at the bottom it says 70 million total. 2 years, 70 million total. That's 35 average per year. Yeah, so even if you want to include the numbers and what the projected market value is, I checked Russ. That's PFF's market value for him. I checked Spot Racks, and they're not far off from PFF. They're actually saying that Russ is going to be getting more. I think they got him at like 38 million. Spot Rack. That's insane, bro. That's insane. If you would have told me the season ended when we were at 10-3, sure, I would have said, Russ, take a blank check. You get your 40 million, whatever it is, 40, 50 million. You're playing like a franchise quarterback. You're playing like a difference maker. But with how the season ended, like, how do I have faith that you're going to be able to keep up that elite play over the course of a whole season? Another year older. 0-5 down the stretch. 0-5. I don't see it, man. Like I mentioned, what do our rivals want us to do? Run it back with the same old thing. And honestly, it makes my stomach turn just thinking we're going to be out there week 1, Russ at quarterback, Arthur Smith OC, Michael Pruitt, Darnell, Muth are out there, and we got Pickens and a couple other receivers and maybe Najee. But no matter what running backs, it's just like it's pretty much the same thing we tried to accomplish. It's pretty much the same thing we were running on offense last year, and clearly it didn't work. Clearly. So why would we be going back to it? It doesn't make sense to me. Amanda Melly says, if we are giving Russ that contract, we are selling hard, bro. That'd be crazy. That'd be crazy. Really would be. Yeah. Think you're paying Russ. Let's say he gets that contract. It's 35 per. You're paying Russ like 25 more million than Justin Fields. 25 more. And I don't even think he's going to be the better player next year. You can argue who is the better player in each of their sample size for 2024. You could argue that. You can argue that. But Justin Fields is 10 years younger. But is in the middle of his prime, going into his prime, with still untapped potential. You know, you could do with that 25 million. You bring back Justin Fields and give that 25 million to T. Higgins. You can give that 25 million, although he's going to need more, but you could use that 25 million in part of to pay T. Higgins' contract. $25 million, man. Yeah, what can you do with $25 million for next year? Uh, yeah, T Higgins bringing in an elite receiver. 25 million. That's what the top corners are getting paid, right? Per year, 25 million. Get a bona fide left tackle in here. There's a lot you could do with that 25. I would just try to get in a receiver. I would just go out and pay T Higgins with the difference right there. That's right there's another reason. Literally, I just brought up another reason. I'm just spitballing here. Another reason why paying Russ or bringing him back doesn't add up. That's with the money involved. I think we've looked at it at every angle and every perspective. Russ being the Steelers quarterback for 2025 it doesn't make sense to me. If you're trying to get to the ultimate goal, if you're trying to find your answer at quarterback, get an elite guy in here, and ultimately win Super Bowls, if you're trying to do that, you got to pivot off Russ. If you're just trying to be safe, be relevant, all that stuff, then I guess status quo, be not exciting, go with Russ. Bring back Russ. Yeah, who do we got in the chat, man? What's poppin'? We got Uno Creations in here, Manny Meeks, D Max. What's poppin'? What do you guys think? Anyone have any rebuttals to my takeaways on this? Man, I still got to get to this picking stuff too. I was gonna talk about Broderick. Yeah, I really had to switch up today's show. Was gonna talk about Broderick switching to left tackle, and then these Pickens reactions to the trade rumors. But the Russ interview had me changing directions here. Had to start off with that Russ interview and the fact that he's in some contract talks with the Steelers. Had to start off with that. So we'll get to Broderick tomorrow, and then I'll read some of your comments. We'll get to this Pickens stuff, and then I'll get up out of here. Manny Meek says, "You're 100% right, Deke. Fields all the way. I think 95% of Steeler fans back Fields now. 95%? You think it is? You might be right. It's probably at least 80-20 in Fields' direction. That's the other thing, though. Let's say the pie chart. We'll split the difference. I say 80%. You say 95. Let's say it's 85% Steeler fans are going Fields. What's the rest of the pie chart on what they want to do at quarterback? I think that's a fair question. You think it's like 5% of them would want to go with Fields? 10%? Do they want a Darnold? Do they want an outside free agent? Do they want to go crazy in the draft, trade up for a Cam Ward, Shedeur Sanders? Do they want to draft one of the quarterbacks that might be going late first, second, third? Will Howard, Kyle McCord. We better not draft Kyle McCord. I know that would be the stupidest move ever. We better not draft Kyle McCord. I saw him throw 5 interceptions against Pitt this year. That would be stupid. Like Quinn Ewers, Jalen Milroe. How do you think this pie chart's sliced up with how Steeler fans want to do this quarterback position? Maybe it might actually be less than 85% want to go with Fields. That would be a good poll question, actually. That'd be a good survey. Maybe it's like 60 Fields, 70 Fields, and then there's, a portion, 20% want to go with the rookie, another 5-10% want to try out Sam Darnold or a free agent quarterback, maybe Rodgers, and then 5% Russ. I do think there is a small percent that want Russ back, though. Very small percent.